Travel Bees, it's the Traveling Lucy back again for another week, and I am here to tell you about how to travel to Europe. Make sure to subscribe below and give it a big thumbs up if you like it. Now let's get into it. A lot of you might have watched my video last and thought, okay, sounds great. Now I know a little bit more about you, Lucy, but how do I travel, me personally? Well, let me think. Excuse me. This seat is taken. I'm sorry, this seat is taken. I have my cat. This is Fluffy. Yeah, so I need, do you have any champagne? No? No champagne? Oh, Fluffy, that just won't do. Listen, I need space. Me and Fluffy, he's my emotional support animal, okay? I can't do this without him. So, you know, it's just gonna have to be okay. You're out of champagne. What would you have? Truly? So you don't even have White Claw? Ugh. Do you have a glass at least that I can use? Okay, that'll do. I have to make it work. Bon voyage. Excuse me. Could I have the menu, please? $8 for a water? Do you guys do free snacks? Could I have some snacks, please? I only have a few dollars, so I guess I'll just spend my last dollars on a drink. What kind of drinks do you have? Oh, you have Truly? Oh yeah, I love Truly. How much is that? Oh, okay. Let me see if I have enough. Will that be enough? Heck yeah. It's gonna be a good trip. Well, I'm here to tell you it's neither of those. I travel very well-rounded, I'd like to think. So whenever I'm traveling, I really try to have a very well-balanced schedule. And I will travel to the most popular cities that everyone's traveling to, like Paris and Barcelona and Berlin. But I also make sure to travel to those smaller cities that a lot of people don't know about, or maybe they've heard about, but it's not first on their list. I think it's really important when traveling that you don't just go to those big cities, because when you go to those big cities and you can get the touristy feel that's from there, but you're not really seeing the country that you're visiting. I mean, when you go to those touristy places, they are trying to be what the world expects them to be. When you go to Paris, you want to see the Eiffel Tower, and there's a bunch of vendors trying to get all your money. The Eiffel Tower is absolutely gorgeous, but it's not all that France is about. It's really great to learn about the history of these places and learn about where these people get their culture from. When I go to a new country, I try to go to at least 2 of the cities in that country so that I can get a good feel of the country. Usually it's 1 big city and 1 small city, sometimes 2 small cities, really just depending on the time that I have and how far away they are from each other. Some of these countries are pretty much the size of our states. Some are even smaller than our states. I can tell you right now, Germany is probably very similar to the size of Texas. It takes a long time to get across some of the countries, so it might limit your time depending on how much you have. One big tip I have is to go ask locals. The #1 thing I do when I arrive somewhere is I will try and seek out someone who looks like they're local, because those local people are going to be able to give you the ins and outs of what that city has to offer, wherever you may be. If you're staying at a hostel, which is usually how I like to travel. There will be another segment on that, so stick around. Whenever I go to a hostel, they're normally ran by those people who are local. So they're able to give some great suggestions. Also, if I'm ever out and about, or if I'm eating at a restaurant, like on the first day, I will ask people working there because those people are locals, right? So I'll make sure to get their opinion, and I'll see where they would suggest to eat, what they think is worth seeing, and make sure that I try to look up those things on my Google to see if I'm interested interested in seeing those things. It's a great way to expand past what you can find on Google to get an idea of what a city and a country might have to offer. And people are willing to share, like they want to tell you about those things. They want to tell you what's going on. And I always try to learn very key words in a language so that I can relate better to them. So I'll try to at least learn hello, how are you? Do you speak English? I'll try to learn that in the native tongue so that I can, you know, communicate with them. But usually when you're traveling around Europe, it isn't hard to find people who can speak English. Also, make sure you ask what the traditional dish is for that country. Whenever I'm traveling, I absolutely love food. Well, I like food always. But whenever I go to a new country, I want to try their food. I want to see what's so different. And you know, you'd actually be surprised. Some of the places we go or we think we know what their food is, but we really don't. I went to Greece and I wanted a lamb gyro, however you say it. I wanted a lamb one so bad. I was determined to find a lamb gyro. And I couldn't find one because guess what? That's not a traditional way that they eat it. They either eat it with chicken or beef. But the Americanized version of a gyro, I'm so sorry to the Greeks out there for mispronouncing it, my bad. But yeah, that's something that's been Americanized by us. If you're in America and you've never been to Europe or you've never been to Greece, you wouldn't even think twice. You would be like, of course they have lamb. I could have sworn. I was determined to. I went to at least 10 places and they were like, what are you talking about? It really surprised me to find those little tidbits about different countries that we've really Americanized. I actually just learned in a trivia thing the other day that the Chinese cookie was created by Americans. You know, it's just funny to see those little differences in cultures and, you know, you expect one thing, but you get something else. One thing I want to highly recommend while traveling to Europe is the walking tours. So if you're going to a city on the first day, whenever I'm in a new city, they usually have what's called a free walking tour. You can Google them for whatever city that you might be in. And these free walking tours are amazing. So pretty much how it's set up, they tell you a specific place and time to be somewhere on whatever day that you sign up. It's free to sign up. And you go on them and there's either someone who's local or someone who's lived in the area for a really long time and has embedded themselves in the culture of the city because they're usually history buffs. They give you a tour on the city. They start in one area and they'll tell you where they're gonna end. But you're walking around the city, pointing out different places. Those people are also great people to ask suggestions to because guess what? That's their job, right? So they're gonna give you suggestions that are local and you can tell them specifically what you're looking for. So if you are, you know, looking for a more fancy restaurant, you can ask that. Or if you're looking for a more low-key local spot, they'll tell you that too. Even if you're looking for a bar or club, they'll be able to tell you that. But there is a caveat to that. Not everything in life is free, right? So what the stipulation is with the free walking tours is you go on them and at the end of the tour, it's up to you how much you want to tip them. So you can tip them $2, $5, $10, $20, whatever you think is worth your time, and they're not going to say anything. Usually about $10 to $20 is what I gave because the ones that I went on, they were so passionate, they gave me so much information and it was completely worth my time. Next, I want to talk about very briefly hostels or hotels. So first of all, hostels aren't as scary as you think they are. They are not like the movie Hostel. They are just as clean as any hotel. They have ratings just like hotels, and it is a great way to get a cheap, affordable place to stay because face it, I mean, when I'm traveling, I'm out trying to see the city, I'm trying to see new things, going hiking, or wherever I might be. I want to see what the city has to offer. I'm not staying in the hotel. If you're someone who wants to stay in the hotel and get a resort style hotel, then by all means do that. That's completely fine. It really just depends on what type of travel you like, but I do want to highlight the fact that hostels are not what you think they are, and they are absolutely phenomenal. Your stuff is safe, they give you lockers, have a bed to come back to. I'll have a whole segment on why hostels are so great and how they can save you a lot of money when traveling to Europe so that you can spend on other things like food. So let me just say, Google is your friend. Whenever I'm researching a city, I will go to Google and I will look up the cities that I already know. So if I know about Paris, then I'll do that, or if I'm just looking up France, best things to see in France. Then cities will pop up on Google underneath that country, and you're able to see all the different cities. But then you can kind of go into this whole thing where you're looking at the smaller cities and seeing what they have to offer, seeing what you might want to see, what different things are specific to those areas. What Google's also great for is looking for these flights to Europe. So I have some great methods that I use to get really cheap tickets and practically free tickets, but that's a whole nother segment too. So what I do want to suggest is Google Flights. Google Flights is a great way to compare multiple flight sites just right in the Google browser. So if you're searching Miami, Florida to Prague, you can search that in Google and it will give you the flights from Miami, Florida to Prague. And you can even put in multiple airport destinations. Like if you want to look from Orlando, Miami, West Palm to Prague, or to England, or to Paris, wherever you might be going. That's a great way to get and compare all of the flights. With flights, it's really great to just be able to compare them, but also make sure to keep in mind baggage. So when you're traveling, you want to make sure you know how much baggage you're allowed to bring for free on those flights, but also you want to make sure that you're packing light. You don't want to bring your whole life over to Europe. Packing effectively is a very important concept when traveling, because you don't want to pack too much, and especially maybe you might want to get some clothes over there because their style is a little bit different. And guess what? You can come back and be like, no, I just got this jacket, it's from Prague. Shopping over in Europe is great, so I highly recommend that too. Next is money. When transferring money, do not get money in the US from your bank for the currency of where you're going, because usually it's way more inflated than if you were to just wait until you got to Europe. So just wait until you get to Europe. Don't buy in the airports either. Don't exchange your money in the airports because the conversion rate there is also high. So wait until you get into the city and go to one of the local exchange places and you'll be able to change your cash there, your American cash. Usually a better rate. So that's a little tidbit. I do also want to mention credit cards. So credit cards are a great resource to have over there. You're going to be able to utilize them pretty much everywhere you go, unless you're going to a very, very small town. Your credit cards, you want to make sure that they have no foreign transaction fee. And if all of your cards have foreign transaction fees, I recommend getting a new card that doesn't, because that is going to save you so much money in the long run if you have no foreign transaction fees. So that means you're not going to be charged a fee every single time you make a transaction with that credit card. So it's a great way to save money. It's a great way to be less worried about having cash on you and that you losing it and having to go exchange more. So you can always have some cash on you just in case. Those cards that offer no foreign transaction fees usually protect you up to a certain amount of money also. So keep that in mind. It's a great way to protect yourself, because even if you did have fraud on your card, they're going to be protecting you. So how do you get around in Europe? So getting around in Europe is pretty easy. Honestly, their transportation system over there is tenfold amazing. It is so much more than we have here in the US. You can pretty much get anywhere by train, plane, or bus. Traveling within most cities is very easy. So you're able to usually get a card. If you're going to be there for 3 days, they usually have like a day pass or a 3-day pass or a 5-day pass, depending on how long you're going to be in that specific area for. That pass will last you for that amount of time from when you first stamp it. So those are available at the train stations, sometimes by bus stations, depending on where you are. And it's usually good for trains and buses. So it's a great way to get around very easily. Once you get over into Europe, no matter what country you're in, and you want to travel to another country, you actually might want to check out plane tickets. It might be really cheap to get a plane ticket to somewhere, and especially if you're doing it on a specific day, it can be very cheap. I mean, I've gotten flights for a one-way ticket from England to Denmark on a Wednesday was 15 pounds, which is equivalent to about $17. You ain't getting that in the US. So that's a great thing to keep in mind if you are going for a long time. Next thing I want to mention is don't spend a whole week in one city. You do not need a whole week. Go travel to other places. I know that whenever I go to a new city or a new place, I probably only need Even if it's a really large city, I only need a day or two there to be able to explore and see the things that I want. If there are a lot of things that interest you there, you can definitely stay for longer. You don't have to feel rushed out of the city. But I'm telling you, 7 days in one city is far too long. You're gonna be bored. You're not gonna see everything that there is to see, but you're gonna see all of the main points, especially if it's a major city. I wanna encourage you guys to go out and see those smaller towns in those countries because they're absolutely gorgeous and you'd be so surprised. I wanna stress having a flexible schedule when you're traveling as well. Make sure you have a flexible schedule that you can go and do whatever you wanna do. So if you have 2 cities you wanna go to, great. Say you're gonna spend the first chunk of your time in Paris, then the next portion of your time is gonna be in Marseille. So great, you have your basic timeline, but don't map out every single thing that you're gonna do on your travel, because if you do that, you're gonna inundate yourself with schedules and what you need to go do, and you're not gonna be able to enjoy it. Sometimes it's just really nice to go somewhere and just be like, what am I gonna do today? And then you can kind of figure it out from there. And you don't have to feel the pressure. I feel like a lot of times when people travel, they feel like they have to fill up their schedule with all of these things to do. And then they're like running around like crazy men. And by the end of your vacation, you're like, oh my God, I'm so exhausted. Was that even a vacation? Like, you don't want it to feel that way. You want to be able to relax and enjoy your time and take in the scenery that you're seeing. So I've talked a lot about cities, but I don't only go to cities. I love hiking. So I will go to those smaller towns that have access to different hiking paths, which is a great way to see the countryside of some of these places. Scotland was absolutely gorgeous. One of my favorite countries by far now. Maybe you want to go see a cool waterfall. You can do that. You can look up different hikes on Google and you can figure out how long they last, so you can see if it's going to be an easy, moderate, or hard hike and see if it'll be good for the whole group that you're with. Or if you're by yourself, that's fine too. So guys, that's how I travel. And if you liked this video, give it a big thumbs up and leave me a comment if there was something that you do when traveling that's a little bit different, or maybe you have a question on something. Feel free to leave me a comment and I will be sure to respond to it. I will see you travel bees next week. Bye!